If you think back on your English language learning over the years, I'm certain that you've heard teachers say, the third conditional is used to talk about impossible or unreal situations in the past. What does that even mean? I'm sure that you've asked that question and wondered, what's the point of talking about unreal situations in the past or impossible situations in the past, things that didn't even happen? I'm Annemarie with Speak Confident English. This is exactly where you want to be every week to get the confidence you want for your life and work in English. And this week, I want to uncover exactly why we use the third conditional in English, because honestly, it's really quite useful. And I want to make it easier for you to use it accurately in your English conversations. By the time you've finished watching today's video, you'll be 100% clear on why and how you should be using the third conditional in English. Now, before we get into all the details of today's lesson, I want to answer two important questions right away. Number one, why do we really use the third conditional? And two, how can you use it accurately? As I mentioned right at the beginning, most English grammar books and teachers will start by telling you that the English third conditional is used to talk about unreal, impossible situations in the past. But here are two other ways to look at that. We use the third conditional to express regret about things that we've done or choices we've made in the past. In other words, things that we wish we could change, but of course we can't. For example, that hairstyle that you had when you were 14, or the fact that you ate too much over the holidays. A second reason to use the third conditional is to criticize someone else's choices or actions made in the past. I'm sure all of us have had arguments with loved ones over decisions they made in the past, or even taking the wrong turn while driving, and as a result, making you late for an appointment or even catching a plane. We're going to explore those two uses for the third conditional in much more depth, and I'm going to give you practical examples. But before I do, let's talk about how to use the third conditional accurately. Again, I'm sure you've heard a teacher or a grammar book point out that with the third conditional you use if plus the past perfect plus would or wouldn't have and the past participle. That's a lot of jargon, so let's make it a bit simpler. Think about those verb charts that you've learned. Eat, ate, eaten. Drink, drank, drunk. Go, went, gone. The verbs in that third column are called past participles, and we need those verbs for both parts of a third conditional sentence, both in the past perfect and following would or wouldn't have. Thankfully, with regular verbs in English, it's not so challenging. We know that the third form of the verb ends with ed. For example, work, worked, worked. Walk, walked, walked. As we go through the lesson today, you'll see me use this structure again and again, although sometimes I will reverse the order. But I want you to pay close attention to that structure. In fact, I recommend that you repeat the example sentences I use after me. That active repetition will help to solidify this structure in your mind, making it easier for you to use in your own conversations. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I often talk about the importance of consistent, repetitive, active practice, because that leads to muscle memory or automaticity, the ability to do something without thinking about it too much or stressing about it. You just do it naturally. And of course, that is what we all want, communicating in a second, third, or fourth language. So now let's go ahead and dive in, talking about regrets, things we wish we could change in the past, or criticizing others' actions and choices. To get started, I'm going to share 3 example sentences with you. With each one, I want you to see if you can identify why I'm using it. Am I regretting something I did in the past? Am I wishing something were different? Or am I criticizing someone else? Example number 1. If I hadn't eaten so much over the holidays, I wouldn't have been sick for days. If I hadn't eaten so much over the holidays, I wouldn't have been sick for days. What do you think? And that one, I am absolutely expressing some regret over a past choice and action that I made. Example number 2, she would have gotten the job promotion if she had better prepared for the interview. She would have gotten the job promotion if she had better prepared. Do you notice in this sentence, I've reversed that structure? In the first part of the sentence, I'm using would have prepared. And in the second, I'm using that if plus the past perfect. She would have gotten the job promotion if she had better prepared for the interview. Now, if you're thinking that example is about criticizing someone else, you're right. I think she made a mistake by not preparing. And the final example, if I had known how dark this paint color would look on my walls, I wouldn't have selected it. Certainly in this one, once again, I'm expressing some regret or a wish that I had made a different choice or taken a different action in the past. Now, in a moment, I want to share a few more examples with you, but before we do, let's look again at these 3 examples. Again, I'm expressing some kind of regret, or I'm regretting what someone else has done. But what really happened in each situation? Let's go back to example number 1. If I hadn't eaten so much over the holidays, I wouldn't have been sick for days. What really happened? The truth is, I really did eat too much over the holidays, and as a result, I felt terrible for days. So with that sentence, I'm expressing my regret, the wish I have that I had made a different choice. In example number 2, as I mentioned, I think this person made a mistake. The reality is she didn't prepare for her job interview, and as a result, she wasn't offered the promotion. And of course, in example number 3, it's clear that I made the wrong paint choice. I ended up with a room that was way too dark because I didn't pay attention, and I'm definitely regretting that choice. All right, now that we've got that, let's look at a few more practical examples so that you really get a sense of how we use the third conditional, and don't forget to practice repeating those sentences after me to get comfortable or familiar with the structure that we're using. The reason I want you to do this is you know that I've got a challenge for you coming at the end of this lesson. I want to make sure that you're ready to practice and do it successfully. So let's look at just a few more. If you hadn't missed that catch, we would have won the game. How many times have you or someone you know blamed another player in a game for something they did wrong? If you hadn't missed that catch, we would have won the game. That one is all about regret and criticizing someone else. We wouldn't have been late to the meeting if you had followed my directions. Again, how many times have you given someone else step-by-step instructions on how to do something or how to get somewhere, but they didn't follow them? That definitely is a frustrating moment, and as a result, we might criticize that after the fact. And finally, one last example for today. If I had done a bit more research, I would have realized this hotel had terrible reviews. What do you think was the reality? What happened? In reality, maybe I didn't do enough research, and in the end, I ended up at a hotel with a terrible experience, and if I had done just a bit more research, I would have known that in advance and probably made a different choice. Now that you understand the why and the how of using the third conditional in English, it's time for you to practice. I want you to think about the past actions and choices, whether they're yours or someone else's. And I want you to try using this structure that you've learned and expressing some kind of regret, wishing something were different in the past, or criticizing someone else's choices and actions. As always, the best place to share your examples with me, get feedback, and read examples from others in the Confident English community is to go to my online lesson at the Speak Confident English website and share in the comment section below. You can also do so at the bottom of this video on YouTube. If you found today's lesson useful to you, I would love to know, and you can let me know in just a few simple ways. Number 1, give this lesson a thumbs up on YouTube, and number 2, be sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss one of my Confident English lessons. And number 3, if you have a friend, coworker, or family member who also wants to improve their English skills, share this lesson directly with them by email or Facebook. With that, have a wonderful week. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time for your Confident English lesson.